friends, this is the program Empire of Lies, where we discuss manipulation and disinformation in Russian media. Victory will be ours, how Russian television constructs a cult of fear and war. The latest episode of Vladimir Solovyov's program, one of the Kremlin's most influential mouthpieces, delivered a distillation of everything that constitutes today's official ideology of war: the cult of force, the justification of violence, the dehumanization of the enemy, and contempt for the very idea of peace. This isn't just the rhetoric of an irritated TV host, it's a political message that Moscow is broadcasting not only domestically, but also internationally, as a form of pressure on Europe and the United States. 1. Fear as a new form of diplomacy. Solovyov utters the key phrase that has become the quintessence of current Russian ideology: "We don't need your love, we need your fear." These words are not a metaphor, they reflect a doctrine in which force replaces law and threat replaces dialogue. The presenter directly states, Russia is ready to destroy the French if they send troops to Ukraine, that there are no enemies more terrible than us. These aren't figures of speech, but a public demonstration of a moral rupture. War is becoming a natural state, and fear a legitimate instrument of foreign policy. This message isn't just domestic. It's a calculated attempt to regain geopolitical clout by cultivating terror. Moscow wants the West to stop thinking in terms of humanism and return to the language of the Cold War. 2. Romanticizing violence and apologizing for a world without Russia. What good is a world without Russia? Solovyov quotes Putin. This phrase, uttered as a rhetorical device back in 2018, has now been transformed into a moral platform. Russia is presented as a messiah-like nation. If the world doesn't accept its terms, let the world perish. This is how not just a justification for escalation is formed, but a philosophy of catastrophe. The idea that the death of all is better than the defeat of one country. This is a pagan notion of power, where victory is valued above life, and the nuclear threat becomes an instrument of identity. I'll tell you 156 times, we don't need your love, we need your fear, and you can't even come close to responding to us. All your long-range capabilities are nothing compared to what we have, what we've demonstrated, and we can even demonstrate combat use if necessary. If you think Russia can be destroyed, I'd like to remind you of the famous saying of our Supreme Commander-in-Chief, "And what good is a world without Russia? Don't hope for it. Don't hope for it. Victory will be ours." 3. Dehumanization of the enemy and the denial of Ukrainian subjectivity. Then follows the familiar mixture of mockery and contempt. The Ukrainians didn't survive. Let them surrender. They'll be given tea and hospitality. Blood vision, a new word for frontline news. Enemy casualties are discussed as statistics, and the mass exodus of men from Ukraine as a choice between freedom and flight. The main goal is to destroy the notion of a resisting nation and turn Ukrainians into a tired and lost mass. Any sign of weakness is interpreted as proof that Russia is right. And at the same time, demagoguery about freedom is used. Ukrainians were supposedly given freedom, and they chose to leave. Thus, even flight becomes an argument against the very idea of Ukrainian statehood. 4. Europe as a target and a source of decline. By the same logic, Europe is presented not as a union of democracies, but as a vassal territory of the United States. "We sell weapons to NATO," Solovyov quotes Trump, immediately adding, "and if the French supply soldiers, we'll kill them all." This sounds natural in his speech. The West is not a partner, but a market, and NATO is not an alliance, but an American client. Thus, Europeans are portrayed not as subjects, but as Washington's servants. This is a convenient way to deprive them of political autonomy and justify any threats against them. 5. Internal enemy as an extension of external part of the broadcast devolves into farce. Solovyov calls his Ukrainian and Russian opponents faggots and pigs. But behind this clownish facade lies an important mechanism: public dehumanization. Enemies are not simply made wrong, but impure and despicable. This is a way to legitimize hatred and show the audience that cruelty is morally permissible if directed at outsiders. This creates a special form of collective aggression, a televised cathartic war, where viewers are trained to enjoy the humiliation of their adversaries. Think, analyze, draw conclusions, and don't be fooled. This was the program Empire of Lies.